This is Baggies View. Coming up, we talk 4-4-2 and preview the Carling Cup clash against Everton. Hello and welcome to Baggies View. I'm Paul Bradley and I'm joined in our Fort Dunlop studios by West Bromwich Albion correspondent Chris Lipkowski. Hi Chris.
Hi.
Well, we're going to talk a bit about formations today, and there's been a lot of talk amongst the fans about West Brom going back to a five-man midfield. Now, what do you make of this, and would it solve West Brom's problems?
Well, I think the first thing you'd say is that they played so well with a five-man midfield last year, which begs the question why Roy changed it in the first place. I think he's always been comfortable with 4-4-2, but results haven't been great. I think it's very simplistic to say that Albion have lost because they've played with five men in midfield, but with four men in midfield as opposed to five. But if you were to go through the actual results of this season, Manchester United, they lost through an own goal because somebody didn't do their job properly in marking Ashley Young against Chelsea. Shane Long's cross along the face of the goal, had Simon Choi put it in, it would have been 2-0. And yet, again, the formation wasn't to blame for Nicky Shorey failing to track Nicholas Anelka. Stoke City, Ben Foster made a mistake. Again, they were minutes away from a 0-0. Formation wasn't a problem there. So I think against Swansea, actually, there was an argument for saying that it was a hindrance, that Swansea's wingers were given way too much room, and Albion were ineffective. They were very rigid, they were very static. They reminded me actually very much of England in last year's World Cup. There was no energy, no sparkle there. But would the formation have made a massive difference? I'd be inclined to say that so many players played badly that it probably wouldn't have made an awful lot of difference going from 4-4-2 to 4-2-3-1 or 4-5-1 in any other guys.
And of course, there's also the question of if they do change the formation, you go back to a five-man field, who's going to miss out and whose role's going to have to change a bit?
I think the one problem with playing a 4-4-2 is that Paul Shana and Josef Malumbu are instinctively inclined to drop back like they did last year, and that was one of the problems on Saturday. There wasn't much support going forward. The obvious player to play that sort of number 10 role behind a lone striker is either Simon Choi or Graham Dorrans, who can both do that job. I mean, Simon Choi did that last season to a degree. In this season's games, he played more of a striker. In terms of players missing out, well, the obvious choice that the manager has to make there is whether to sacrifice Adam Wingy or Shane Long. Adam Wingy, we know, can play on the wing. He can also play that sort of withdrawn role. But Roy is quite set in his ways. He's always favoured a 4-4-2, and I was just worried that this set of players don't necessarily complement that system as well as a five-man midfield would. I think Albion's strengths lie in their midfield, especially attacking wise, and I think with a player, and the player I mentioned, Graham Dorrans, he's the obvious example of being a midfielder at the moment who doesn't really have a role in that midfield, while Shana and Malumbu are in the centre.
OK, well, let's move away from formation a bit now, and let's look ahead to the next game for West Brom in the Carling Cup against Everton at Goodison.
Yeah.
What sort of side are West Brom likely to put out, and how are they going to be approaching this in terms of importance?
They want to, obviously, the league is the priority, and they need to get something against Fulham. I think that will be reflected by the team selection at Goodison tonight. I do feel that they need a win. They need a good result. They need to get confidence back and get some spirit back and sparkle back, because it's been lacking. Personally, I think they'll choose the likes of people like Simon Cox, Simon Choi, Gonzalo Jara Reyes, players who have maybe not played of late, but can get some valuable playing time, and maybe just give the manager something to think about ahead of Fulham, because I have to say that the team played that badly last week as individuals, not just as a unit, but as individuals, that I wouldn't be surprised if the manager had quite a few changes in mind for Fulham.
OK, Chris, well, thank you for the thoughts today. And thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with more Baggies View.